Good morning. Welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. We are ready to begin with the appeal of M. Magana. The OTA case number is 2119246. The oral hearing will be live streamed. With that said, Ms. Alonso, are you ready to go on the record? Okay, let's go on the record. We are opening the record in the appeal of M. Magana. The OTA case number is 2119246. This matter is being held before the Office of Tax Appeals. Today's date is June 16th, 2023, and the time is approximately 9:30 a.m. This hearing is being held electronically with the agreement of both the taxpayer and the agency's representative. Today's hearing is being heard and decided by a single administrative law judge under the Office of Tax Appeals Small Case Program. The Office of Tax Appeals is an independent and neutral agency. It is not a tax court. My name is Keith Long, and I will be conducting the hearing and deciding the appeal. Also present is a stenographer, Ms. Alonso, who is reporting this hearing verbatim. To ensure we have an accurate record, we ask that everyone speaks one at a time and does not speak over each other. Also, speak clearly and loudly. When needed, Ms. Alonso will produce the official hearing transcript, which will be available on the Office of Tax Appeals website. I'd like to offer a few reminders to help the process run as smoothly as possible. First, please ensure your microphone is not muted when you speak. Otherwise, your voice will not be picked up on the live stream, even though we can hear you in the room. As a reminder, these proceedings are being broadcast live, and anything said today and any information shared today is publicly viewable on the live stream. Please do not use the chat function within WebEx. For the record, will the parties please state their name and who they represent, starting with the representatives for FTB?
My name is D. Wynn. I'm representing the FTB.
And I'm Brad Catino, also representing the Franchise Tax Board. Thank you.
Thank you. And for appellant, Mr. Magana?
Is it me, Moises Magana?
Thank you. Today, Mr. Magana will be testifying as a witness. Is that correct, Mr. Magana?
Yes.
Okay. Before we go forward, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The exhibits for this appeal consist of FTB exhibits A through I. At the pre-hearing conference and in our May 25th, 2023 minutes and orders, the Office of Tax Appeals acknowledged FTB exhibits A through H. At the pre-hearing conference, appellant did not have any objection to these exhibits. Thereafter, FTB submitted Exhibit I, consisting of a federal tax transcript for the tax year 2020. Mr. Magana, do you have any objections to this exhibit?
No.
Thank you. Additionally, at the pre-hearing conference, appellant's exhibits 1 through 4 were identified. FTB did not have any objection to appellant's exhibits at that time. FTB, is this still correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Accordingly, FTB's exhibits A through I and appellant's exhibits 1 through 4 are admitted without objection. The issue in this appeal is whether appellant has established reasonable cause for the late payment of tax such that the late payment penalty should be abated. Mr. Magana, you requested 15 minutes to make your presentation, and you may begin when you are ready.
Okay. So I am making this request. I made this request a long time ago. Basically, to summarize, 2022 was a tough year for me. My sister got diagnosed with cancer. My mother, as my sister was going through treatment, my mother then got diagnosed with cancer. My sister was going through chemo. She was making that okay. Then we got surprised with my mother getting diagnosed, and then she passed 3 months after. It was very sudden. So there was just a lot of personal time commitments and challenges in me just getting required deadlines in order. And obviously paid, got everything together, paid when I could, filed when I could. But obviously it was late, based on respective timelines. I, have never requested any kind of abatement of fees or penalties or whatever the case may be. I've always been a timely taxpayer, if you will, and I submitted the request to the IRS and then to the state. Luckily, the IRS accepted and waived some of the fees or penalties, and I was hoping the state would as well. But here we are today. So it's a request as a extraordinary situation where I'm just asking for it to be waived.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I hit the mute button too many times there. Okay. Before I ask my questions, since you testified as a witness, I do have to ask, does FTB have any questions for Mr. Magana before we go forward?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Magana, I understand from your appeals request that you were flying back and forth to take care of your relatives. Is that correct?
That's right.
And you live where?
LA, and my mother and sister in San Francisco.
Okay. And about how frequently were you traveling back and forth?
At one point every 4 days, 5 days.
Wow. Okay. And do you know, I'm sorry, can you tell me what months that was and what time period in 2022 that was?
So my sister, let's see. My sister got diagnosed March of 2020, and she went through chemo basically through the end of 2020. Into 2021, my mother got diagnosed July of 2020 and passed at the end of October 2020.
Okay. And when you were in San Francisco, were you providing full-time care for them or?
Yeah, we tried to do like not hospice, but I would try to do like in-nurse care. Then we try to do hospice care. Just it wasn't working out. And if you have limited time with your loved ones, then you excuse me, you make the time to be there. So
I understand, and I'm sorry for everything that you went through. And I know that this is hard to talk about, but I just want to make sure I understand everything that's going on, okay?
understood.
Okay, and so do you know, so you were, just so I'm clear, you were flying back and forth from Los Angeles to San Francisco roughly every week from March 2020 through 2021?
No, the traveling didn't spike until like June, where I had to go constantly. But prior to that, it was like every 2 weeks, not as frequent. It wasn't until they were both in their condition where I felt I had to be there because I didn't know how much time I'd have. And my mother had to go to the ER a couple times, was in and out of the hospital. It was during the year of COVID, so not many people could go into the hospital if one person went in, and that was it for the day. So there was a lot of logistical challenges during that year that made it very, very, very tough.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any additional questions at this time, so I am going to move forward with FTB's presentation. Franchise Tax Board, you have 15 minutes and you may begin when you are ready.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Dee Win. I am representing the FTB. And again, the issue on appeal is whether appellant has demonstrated a reasonable cause to abate the late payment penalty, which FTB imposed for tax year 2020. FTB's position is that appellant has not demonstrated reasonable cause for abatement. For tax year 2020, FTB postponed the filing and payment due date from April 15th, 2021 to May 17th, 2021. The records show that appellant paid his taxes on October 5th, 2021, about 5 months after the May 17th due date, and consequently, the FTB imposed a late payment penalty. Appellant argues that he could not finally pay his taxes because he had to care for his mother and sister, both of whom were diagnosed with cancer in 2020. Regretfully, appellant's mother did not survive. FTB is very sympathetic, regarding appellant's circumstances. Nevertheless, our position is that the application of the appeal of Triple Crown Baseball, an opinion from the Office of Tax Appeals, show that no reasonable cause for abatement exists. In the appeal of Triple Crown Baseball, the Office of Tax Appeals found that illness may constitute reasonable cause for abatement, but not so if the illness did not prevent a taxpayer from complying with the law, and the illness simply caused the taxpayer to sacrifice one aspect of his affairs to pursue another. Again, FTB is very sympathetic to appellant's circumstances. However, the record shows that illness did not prevent appellant from complying with the law. Appellant's mother had passed away about 7 months prior to FTB's filing a payment deadline. Furthermore, the records show that appellant reported W-2 and rental and royalties income in tax year 2020. As appellant was able to work, appellant should have also been able to make arrangements for compliance with the law. As previously stated, under the appeal of Triple Crown Baseball, illness does not constitute reasonable cause where the taxpayer merely sacrifices one aspect of his affairs for another. Here, the fact that appellant was able to work suggests that appellant sacrificed complying with the law for his other affairs. Consequently, it's our position that there are no grounds for abatement of the late payment penalty. Thank you, and I will gladly address any questions or concerns that you may have.
Thank you. I do not have any questions for Franchise Tax Board, so we will move straight to Mr. Magana's final statement. Mr. Magana, you have 5 minutes to let us know anything else that you would like us to know before we close this appeal. And you may begin when you are ready.
Sure. So, I mean, it wasn't when somebody passes, the time doesn't end there. There are other responsibilities and arrangements that need to happen. Not only that, did my sister continue to have chemo throughout the end of 2020 into 2021, but I also had to take care of all my mother's information in order. And filing doesn't take 5 seconds. It took me a while to get everything together and file. So even though it was extended to May and I filed in whenever you said I filed October, it wasn't that I was not able to handle both or juggle both in terms of getting things in order. I mean, whatever you stated in terms of whatever the rules and requirements are or comparative judgment, it is what it is. I just had to ask and see if it would be a consideration. And if this is all big ass waste of time and I get nothing, then so be it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't have any further question, and so I think we're ready to conclude this hearing. This case is submitted on Friday, June 16th, 2023. The record is now closed. I want to thank everyone for coming today. I will consider everything that was said today and send you a written opinion of OTA's decision. within 100 days from today. Today's hearing in the appeal of M. Magana is now adjourned. OTA's next hearing will resume at 10:30. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.